Early morning, in a small village in Dhanushkodi, a large catch comes in. The intensity of work increases. 3 turtles are caught in the net. A few years back, these endangered turtles might not have seen freedom. Today, the capacity building work of the Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve Trust, with the support of the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and Global Environment Facility, GEF, has made such a conservation effort possible. The story began in 2002 when serious concerns emerged about the deterioration of the status of the biodiversity of the Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve. The reserve is the first marine biosphere reserve in South and Southeast Asia, covering an area of 10,500 square kilometers, stretching from Rameshwaram to Kanyakumari, including 360 kilometers of coastal length. The Gulf of Mannar Marine National Park, 560 square kilometers, was established in 1986. Its 21 coral-rich islands and surrounding shallow water habitat is the core area of the Biosphere Reserve. These islands are mainly in 4 groups: Mandapam Group, Kelakarai Group, Vembar Group and Tuticorin Group. The Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve is home to over 3,600 species of marine flora and fauna. The biological richness of this area is evident in the fact that it has a rich diversity of corals, fishes, seagrass, mollusks, crustaceans, echinoderms, sponges, eels, dolphins, and seahorses. It is also the home for sea turtles, and the highly endangered sea cow or the dugong. The islands are also home to a large variety of birds. Some islands have dense mangrove cover. It is these coral and mangrove islands which lessen the impact of tsunami. But the rich biodiversity of this region has also made it vulnerable to overexploitation and destruction. At the turn of the century, many conservationists felt the area was facing threats which could lead to an irreplaceable loss of marine resources. The emerging figures of exploitation were shocking. 85,000 fishermen in a population of 1.2 lakhs in 252 villages directly depend on marine resources for livelihood. Every day, over 3,200 mechanized and 1,100 non-mechanized boats enter the waters of Gulf of Mannar. The trawlers operate outside the reserve area in the open sea, but illegal fishing is a common problem. These trawlers harvest the sea indiscriminately, feeding a large export industry. The traditional fishing communities are heavily dependent on the reserve for livelihood. Each village area has its own specialized fishing practice. In Dhanushkodi area, shore scene fishing brings in large catches every day. Traditional fishing in Kelakarai area has a large number of villages dependent on it for their livelihood. Over the years, the reduced catch has been forcing villagers to make their net sizes increasingly small. In Tuticorin, crab fishing industry is large, the catch running into crores of rupees. But a huge amount of natural resources are wasted as the bycatch is discarded. Many species face a useless death. In Mandapam, the ornamental fish market is in great demand. For this, the fragile coral reef areas are exploited. The Gulf of Mannar has a large variety of mollusks. Chank fishing is a major industry in this region. Villagers in Mandapam area specialize in this technique. These shells are sent to factories which carry out the cleaning and polishing. This in turn feeds a large national and international tourism industry. In some regions, women specialize in seaweed gathering for medicines. Overexploitation of these resources is rampant as they fetch a good price in the international market. Illegal mining of the coral reefs over the years has caused major damages to the coral reefs. Turtles are exploited both directly and indirectly. All 5 species that are found in the Indian waters are endangered. Dugongs have been today hunted indiscriminately for meat, tusks for ivory carvings, and hide for leather products. This growing exploitation is aggravated by the unregulated tourism in Rameshwaram for pilgrimage. It has added to the levels of pollution and waste generation. Several power plants and industries discharge a high level of pollution both in the air and in the sea, which has destroyed several valuable marine species. The mass production of salt is leading to further salinity in the area. These problems with time have got aggravated by the lack of awareness and the lack of community support, making proper law enforcement almost impossible. It was into this highly conflict-ridden scenario that the Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve Trust entered in 2002. It was created as the implementing agency for the government of Tamil Nadu and UNDP GEF project, Conservation and Sustainable Use of the Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve Coastal Biodiversity.
The Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve, the first one started in the Indian subcontinent, has been doing a yeoman service immediately after it was converted into a trust. The Government of India, the state government and the GEF have been rendering assistance for setting up various projects, schemes and programs. This will benefit not only the people there on the coastal areas, but also the lives which are there in the Biosphere Reserve. The schemes are meant for protecting the people to have a sustained life, sustainable life, and also the biosphere animals, and which are, some of them are very, very rare. Those are also being protected. This would be a wonderful idea if we remember and then pass this on to our progeny.
The overall objective of this project is to conserve the Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve's globally significant coastal biodiversity and to integrate conservation efforts to various sectors of development. The focus of the project is to empower local communities to manage the coastal ecosystem and wild resources in partnership with government and other stakeholders and making all accountable. In addition, the project seeks to develop management plans involving various stakeholders to monitor resources and develop strategies to adaptive management of resources and bring out behavioral changes.
So far we have done 7 years of execution, and the main challenge faced by the authorities engaged in implementing this project is to reconcile the fishing activity of the local people with the objectives of this whole project. It's a Herculean task to dissuade the local fishermen community from the traditional fishing activity to various other alternative livelihood projects, and this is where the challenge still remains. Although 7 years have passed, we are still testing it out, and we are sure that this project in its future time will tackle it successfully.
The project has developed strategies to deal with the core area by strengthening patrolling and legal action. Outside the core area, it has sought to create awareness by empowering village marine conservation and eco-development committees in 252 villages to rationally use the marine resources in a sustainable manner. In the Gulf of Mannar Marine National Park, the management has been strengthened by boundary demarcations and setting up anti-poaching measures like anti-poaching watchers and camps. Measures have also been undertaken to ensure the monitoring of the reserve through patrol boats and intelligence sharing.